Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. How you doing? I hope you're doing awesome. Mahalo for tuning in. Today I am so stoked to welcome one of my favorite contemporary rock vocalists. He's also a gifted author and visual artist. In fact, he has a new mural just going on display with a theme that we can relate to here in the islands, raising awareness about plastics and their detrimental effects on the oceans. He's published books with his artwork and lyrics and even put his art on shirts, too, for a good cause. He and the band are heading back to the islands August 5th. They've got a date at Kaka'ako Waterfront Park. The concert went on sale today. I expect it to sell out based on their 2008 capacity gig at the Waikiki Shell. His music is meaningful, catchy, intense, and he's got a special ability to connect with you on a deeply personal level. The new album is If Not Now, When? It drops on July 12th. New song Adolescence is out now. And I'm sure he hears it all the time, but it's a huge personal thrill to welcome this soulful, charismatic, enormously talented cat for a conversation. The voice of Incubus, Brandon Boyd. Aloha and mahalo, Brother Brandon. Thank you so much for taking some time.
How you doing, man? That was quite an introduction. I don't know what to say.
Well, it's all you. So, aside from your 2008 gigs on Maui and the show, because you also did Maui that time, take me through your personal experience with Hawaii, Brandon. Previous visits, islands you've been on, maybe some family vacations you've taken.
Yeah, the first time I came to Hawaii, I was 13 years old. I'd been surfing about a year and a half, 2 years maybe, and I came to Oahu and stayed, in Waikiki, as you do. I went with my family and everything, and my brothers and I were completely over the moon that we were coming to Hawaii. I mean, it was literally, we could not think of a more magical place to visit when we were kids. And, of course, my parents filled up most of our time with doing, bus tours and hula lessons and stuff like that. But we did find some time to surf and soak it in a little bit. But since then, I've been back a number of times, sometimes, like you mentioned, to play concerts here and there, but most of the time just to surf and enjoy the beautiful vibrations and the scenery and swim. And I truly love the islands. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world.
Oh, that's awesome to hear, dude, because as you know, you have a really strong fan base out here, made quite a connection with people. Aside from Oahu, where else have you gone, and obviously Maui, where else have you gone in the state, Brandon?
I've actually spent most of the time I've spent in Hawaii has been on the island of Kauai, on the North Shore. Just made some friends over there over the years, and I really enjoy the surf, and I enjoy the kind of, I don't know what the term to use is. It's got more of like a country vibe where I visited, and I've even heard friends of mine on the North Shore of Kauai saying things like, keep Kauai country.
Exactly. They say that here too on the North Shore.
Do they? Okay, good. Seeing chickens and stuff walking around, they're like, yeah, that's the way we like it, and I'm kind of down for that.
That's very cool. And so you have friends over there, and any other friends in the state, or most of your associates are over there on Kauai?
Mostly on the island of Kauai. So usually when I have some time off and I want to come for a surf, I'll go to Kauai just because I've made some, like I said, made some friends and family over there, and I do love the surf over there as well.
When was the last time you were here?
I guess that would have been about a year ago. Yeah, New Year's Eve, or I was there for New Year's a little over a year ago. Yeah, I was nursing an injury, so I couldn't go in the water as much as I wanted to, normally would. But it was a great place to be recovering from what I was dealing with. So it's such a magical place, man. You guys are so lucky to call that your home.
That's cool. It's nice to hear your reverence. Is there a particular, when you say that, is there a story or an experience that comes to mind, something that you've done that you're like, man, that was so much fun?
Yes, actually. I mean, there's a bunch of them. My friend Amayan Goodwin took my girlfriend and I swimming on the North Shore of Kauai, and we swam out really far, and he wanted to show us some of these reef areas, and so we're just kind of free diving and stuff, and we're about as far underwater as I've ever been, without a scuba tank attached, and underwater he kind of motions to me to look down, and we pull ourselves down over this reef, and there are like 6 or 7 big, burly sharks,
Ooh.
all sitting inside of this little reef cave, but like sitting nose to nose, pretty still. But they literally look like an old mob family having some weird meeting. And I remember being scared at first, and then he looked at me and was like, no, it's cool. Like, just check them out all this underwater with eye contact. And when I came back up for air, I looked at my girlfriend. I'm like, that was insane. Like, they look like a mob family. Like, do they go out from there and, go bully fish? I don't know. Definitely a memorable swim.
Oh, certainly, dude. I'm glad I've never had one like that myself. Has anything out here ever inspired any of the music that you've made?
Oh, absolutely. There's, most of us in the band grew up surfing, mostly in California. Our bass player Ben is from the East Coast, but still he grew up surfing in New Jersey of all places. But when I think of surf and I think of being in the ocean, like the ultimate place for me when it comes to mind is literally in Hawaii. And so being in the water has always been a place where I go to commune, with nature and with God, and feel like I'm getting in touch with sort of everything. And so inevitably, just in amongst all of that quiet and all of that stillness, or potential stillness when you're not getting tumbled over, melodies arrive and phrases and lyrics will emerge here and there. And it's also wonderfully, like, being in the water, it's a very dense atmosphere sonically. So you can sing, if you're by yourself, you can sing at the top of your lungs and people on the beach don't hear you.
Right.
It's like to imagine somebody sitting on a surfboard, like, singing at the top of his lungs, but it's not an unusual act for me.
I can actually picture you doing it, sort of.
I'm picturing it in my head now, and it must look ridiculous when I'm really there,
Well, that's ironic, just because as I introduced you, I mentioned your socially conscious mural, which is trying to spread the word about the plight of the oceans filled with plastic. And as you probably could imagine, that is a topic that does come up in our news and conversation here in the islands. How did this Hurley project come together, and talk about some of the personal motivation behind it?
I've known these cats over at Hurley for a really long time, and they're wonderfully generous people. They've been so good to Incubus, and just in their support, and as well, and offering us opportunities to come on surf trips with their pros and everything, and they're just wonderful people. So we always kind of said in passing, like, we should do something together one day, and it was, kind of sitting around the campfire kind of a thing, and both of our schedules, Incubus and then Hurley separately being what they are, it proved harder to actually pull something together than I think we really gave it credit for. So in the interim for Incubus, in between albums, we this time around especially had some downtime and had a chance to really kind of think it through. And so we just we laid it down. We committed to it, and they asked me, like, would you want to do something that was sort of socially conscious, like, a base around something. And I had literally, like, a couple days before I took this meeting with them, I had seen this film called Tapped. It talks a lot about the bottled water industry and the idea of single-use plastics and the end result of them and all these things. And it just kind of freaked me out. And I was aware of a lot of these things already, but we live in this wonderful era of the documentary. Like, there's so much to be learned, and we can really get a great glimpse of that in the hour and a half, 2 hours. You can get like a crash course in any topic at this moment in history. It's amazing. And then the web obviously has been amazing for that too. So it just, all the stars aligned, and it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to do my best to bring this situation kind of back to light, because, it's not something that people are unaware of. It's just something that people, I think, en masse feel like perhaps is an insurmountable task, so they don't really try. And otherwise, thinking people and conscious people will just do what everyone else is doing, and that's really where the danger is that we we don't try. And it really, all it takes is that subtle shift in our behaviors, and really huge things can be accomplished. So that was really the goal around this, was just to remind people that this is still a growing problem, and it's getting worse.
Now I know the tap. Now I remember, because I did not see it, but I know about it because I remember it screened here, and I remember talking about it on the air, and about the water industry, and how, and you're right, about how people have gotten so used to drinking bottled water, and we don't think about where all the plastics come from to make the bottled water, and how you can't use the plastic bottles again, and then they start adding up. Now I know the documentary you're talking about. That's cool that it moved you like that, and it really is an important issue. Right now in the islands, they've just banned plastic bags, county by county.
Incredible. It's good for you guys, man. I wish we could do that here in LA, because it's huge. It's the most simple thing in the world too, especially with plastic bags. It's like, you just buy these cheap reusable totes, keep them in your car, keep them wherever. That's so simple, but it's just a matter of implementing these things and reminding people that how important they are. So I don't mind doing that, especially with being lucky enough to, make art for a living. And to me, I feel honored to be somebody who acts as a reminder to important topics. Different Incubus merchandising options. We've made like cheap reusable totes out of organic cotton and organic hemp, and we'll put weird drawings on them and stuff, and a little Incubus logo, and sell them at our shows, for pretty cheap. But you can get that stuff on our any number of our websites. I'm a terrible salesman, as you can tell.
But that is a cool thing, and you do use your art in a lot of places. Are there other injustices or causes that move you, Brandon? I know from reading a little bit about you, you've mentioned your closest friend on earth, at least when you wrote it, was a French canine. So obviously you have animals in your heart like me. Just curious if there are other causes that really move you.
Absolutely. I think that there are a number of things at play in the world today. And someone who's just kind of glancing in on it, like I was sort of alluding to before, it can seem overwhelming, all the things that need to be done today, whether we're talking about climate change or, we're talking about political restructuring. There's so much to get involved with. But what's amazing to me about all of it is that if you look just a little bit further into it, you realize how deeply connected every single issue is. And so one of them in particular, and I've been very interested in this idea of climate change, and that goes into our everyday practices. So that goes into our use of like single-use plastics and bottled water and plastic bags, but that also goes into the dietary choices we make, the kinds of foods we decide to eat en masse, the people we elect, our elected officials. All these things are all interconnected, and it's kind of fascinating when you just look at it a little bit deeper than the surface, and you do kind of come to realize that it is all interconnected. It's exciting. There's so much to get involved with and to be passionate about. So no shortage of things to be inspired by in this day and age, that's for sure.
Absolutely not. And that's one of the things, as I was trying to get across in introducing you, is you have this kind of perspective that in your music, you have this open sort of perspective that it's like a sense of positivity, openness, self-analysis. You're not afraid to sort of analyze yourself. There's a sense of curiosity. And I wanted to explore a couple of lyrics with you on that note. Let's start with the new song, Adolescence. And I've been listening to it a lot. Your songs are so catchy, and you hit these incredible vocal melodies. There's just so much emotion and soul. It's almost like regardless of what you're singing about, you can find yourself in the song. And by looking at those lyrics, out of sight, out of mind, and it's adolescence with a TS on the end, what is the intended vibe of it?
This is a good example of exactly what I'm talking about. There's this thing that we can get lost in as far as our perception of ourselves as a species. There's this thing we can get lost in when we don't look at the available facts. The fact of the matter is that as a species, we are really, really, really young. We are very new to the earth, especially where we are in our sort of cultural evolution. We are in we're kind of stuck in this song, I'm saying, like, you and I are just adolescents. And so that should, in some respect, give somebody a little bit of explanation and perhaps a little bit of hope. But I kind of spun it out at the end of that phrase by saying, like, it doesn't actually make me feel any better about things right now. It doesn't change the fact that there's some really, really crazy things happening in the world today, and they're explainable, being that we are such a young species, but that's not an excuse. So basically calling for people to grow up a little bit. Let's grow up as a species. And we have this chance right now with our growing awarenesses to consciously grow up a little bit and to move beyond that stage of adolescence. So that's kind of what the song's about.
Awesome. That's cool. So people as a young species, and I knew it would have a really interesting meaning there topically. Another one that just curious about, Pardon Me. To me, when I put that on, I could listen to that, no joke, I could listen to that song 6, 7, 8 times in a row because it is so catchy and so cool. It was so cutting edge too. The great guitar tone in that, the scratching used in just the right way to make it transcend into the mainstream world, and just the most powerful, ballsy chorus. I just am curious, when you play that today, do you still just step up to the mic with that same energy that you used to, or has it evolved or changed at all in your life?
I feel like first of all, you're so kind, man. Thank you so much for the nice words. I'm flattered.
You're quite welcome.
That you enjoy it like that. I honestly that's a song that still resonates with me a lot. I've always loved the myth of the phoenix rising from the ashes, and it's been used to death over the years in popular culture, but it still doesn't take away from the relevance of that imagery of the phoenix rising up from the ash. And so literally, we played that song probably 600 times live, and every time we play it, I get excited when that chorus comes up, because it definitely fills me up with something unusually gratifying. And I, in my heart of hearts, I only hope that the people that I'm singing to and sharing that song with get even a shred of that good feeling in them too. So it sounds like it's been working for you. So I'm so happy that it has, man. I so appreciate it. Oh,
dude, I appreciate it, man. I mean, that's there are days stuff like that makes a difference.
Right on, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, it's interesting. We just stumbled upon, I guess there is this redemptive thing that permeates throughout your writing. It's not limited to one song or era, huh?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard for any of us in the band to be truly objective to the way that our music is perceived. We really only get glimpses of that stuff, and it's frustrating at times, but also at other times it's illuminating, because we have a unique perspective on the situation. But I have noticed in times when I'm able to be mildly objective, a running theme of emotional, spiritual, and intellectual redemption and hope at the end of it all.
You're a really successful guy. You're a few years younger than me. You're really articulate. You seem like a really nice guy, and your music, you're a survivor. It's so hard to stay alive in this business, and all these years later, you're still alive. You guys are still relevant, and you're huge in Honolulu. And I'm curious if you have any advice on how to bring good things into your life, or how you've managed to continuously channel good things in your life.
That's a great question. Something that's been fascinating to me over the years, particularly recently, as I've become more and more aware of my mortality and my aging body. I'm only 35 years old, but we have been doing this quite a long time, and there are tendencies in our brains to want to concretize and stop and slow things down and all that. But I really think that is the antithesis of of what is good and what is real. I think that slowing down isn't a bad thing, but I think my point is that novelty really is that's like the tree of life. Stay elastic. Keep your brain moving and grooving. Keep dancing, if you will, not in a literal sense, but like in an emotional and intellectual sense, spiritual sense. Keep moving. Our brains that we thought forever, up until quite recently, that after a certain age, our prefrontal cortex would concretize, would stop growing, and it's actually not true at all. It just depends on the person. It depends on how much novelty everyone brings into their lives and entertains in their lives. So for me, it's been continuing to read and learn new skills and continuing to write music, because music is an incredible challenge. It's like speaking a different language. It is literally learning a different language. And there's no end point in music. You can't become an expert at music and then you're done. There's nothing left to learn. It's constantly changing, shifting, and moving. So my point is remain elastic, remain rubbery, like a rubber sole, like you're just to move back and forth, keep the dance alive. You understand what I'm getting at? I really think that's the point, is for us to learn new things continually.
I do, but I mean, I'll have to just, I'll cherish the advice and re-listen to it, at other times to try to get more out of it.
Cheers.
And the first word you used, at least, is a word I can relate to, because I came from the Philly area. I was in Boston for a long time, and then I moved here. So for me, Honolulu and Hawaii have a real novelty quality. So it was ironic that after asking you for, an answer on my question, that was like the first word that came to out of your mouth. So I do appreciate the advice, and I'll mull it over. And as a final question for you, when you're here, I would really love to record a short interview with you, if you don't mind, while you're in Honolulu.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'd love to.
Would that be all right? You don't mind doing stuff like that?
Not at all. It's totally cool. Sounds like a good time.
Otherwise, just a big mahalo, Brandon. It was a lot of fun. I really hope that this was not a drag for you.
No, not in the slightest, man. I so appreciate all your kind words, and I look forward to seeing you pretty soon.
I couldn't ask for more. Again, I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. I'll reach out to Joseph, and it was really meaningful, dude. It was quite an interview. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I so appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too. I'll see you when you're here. Travel safe, brother.
All right, brother.
Aloha.